professor Vanderlei Banhato também faz parte, nesse momento, dessa homenagem de John Weiner. Professor, a importância disso tudo e o porquê que está sendo feito?
O professor John Weiner é um professor que já esteve muito aqui em São Carlos, ajudou a formação de muita gente, né? Alguns já professores do nosso instituto, e por uma época ele veio aqui passar 3 anos, né, da vida dele, dando aula, ajudando a montar laboratório, tanto no Instituto de Física quanto na Engenharia. Então o Instituto achou por bem dar a ele o título de professor honorário do Instituto de Física de São Carlos. E nós fazemos isso de fato para aqueles que tiveram uma influência e uma participação na formação das pessoas que estão aqui dentro do nosso Instituto.
Professor Euclides Larega, nesse momento em que John Weiner é homenageado e integra o Instituto de Física de São Carlos, vocês, enquanto organizadores dessa homenagem, qual a satisfação e o porquê dessa atitude?
Bom, o professor John já tem uma história bem longa aqui conosco, né? Há mais de 20 anos, praticamente uns 25, quase 30 anos que ele colabora com o nosso grupo aqui. E depois desses 30 anos a gente percebeu que a gente tinha que fazer uma homenagem a ele pelas contribuições que ele fez ao nosso grupo de pesquisa, tanto na parte física atômica quanto na parte fotônica. O professor John, ele é um pesquisador que tem um conhecimento grande, já publicou vários livros na área e se dispôs a vir para o Brasil várias vezes. Eu nem me lembro quantas vezes ele já veio para o Brasil, acho que mais de 3, 4 dezenas de vezes já veio para o Brasil. Então, uma pessoa, um americano, ou seja, um pesquisador de uma universidade primeiro ali nos Estados Unidos, depois França, vir para o Brasil colaborar é uma coisa assim inédita, né? E do porte dele, então isso fez com que nós reconhecêssemos todo esse esforço que ele fez e estamos agraciando ele com um prêmio de professor honorário aqui do Instituto de Física de São Carlos.
Professor Marcassa, a importância de vocês, enquanto organizador dessa homenagem ao professor John Weiner, você poderia me explicar o porquê e a importância desse momento?
Bem, o professor John Weiner é um amigo da casa de longa data, isso vai por volta do começo dos anos 90, tá certo? Ele colaborou com o professor Vanderlei, colaborou comigo, colaborou com o professor Reginaldo Napolitano, né? Então ele tem um longo histórico de contribuições científicas com essa casa. E mesmo depois, quando ele já era aposentado, ele veio aqui e colaborou com novas pessoas, né? Como o professor Euclides, o professor Weiner da Engenharia. Então o John, sem dúvida, é uma pessoa muito querida por nós, por ter ajudado muito nas pesquisas realizadas aqui.
E a homenagem a John Weiner, que agora integra como professor aqui no Instituto de Física essa grande homenagem, passando a ser parte, né, do nosso instituto, apesar de que ele faz muitos anos que ele colabora com todos os professores aqui do Instituto. John, please.
Well, I não falo português, but I will try my best. I think I understood the question. And the answer is that I'm very thrilled and honored to be integrated into the faculty at USP and IFSC, the Physics Institute. And since I've been working here for many years, it seems like a very natural thing. And so I'm very greatly honored.
On behalf of the director of the São Carlos Institute of Physics from the University of São Paulo, I welcome everyone who will share this important moment of our institution. The grant of the Medal of Honor and the title of honorary professor of the São Carlos Institute of Physics to Professor John Weiner in recognition of his scientific and academic contributions in the areas of atomic physics and photonics, which had a decisive impact on the research carried out at our institute. Therefore, I invite the following authorities to take their places on stage. First of all, representing the director of Songkart Institute of Physics, I invite Professor Kleber Mendonça, Chairman of the Postgraduate Committee. I invite our honored Professor John Weiner, please. Next, I invite the coordinator of the Optics and Photonics Research Center, the CEPOF, Professor Vanderlei Salvador Bagnato. Next, I invite the Vice President of the Postgraduate Committee, Professor Luis Gustavo Marcassa. Next, I invite the Vice Chief of the Electrical Engineering Department of São Carlos School of Engineering of the University of São Paulo, Professor Ben-Nur Viana. Finally, I invite the Scientific Division Coordinator of Optics and Photonics Research Center, Professor Euclides Marega Jr. Professor Weiner established a research group that performed light spatial localization experiments at scales below the conventional diffraction limit with the goal of producing nanoscale optical trap arrays of atoms. At the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, Professor Weiner pursued his interest and the transmission of light through subwavelength paths by developing numerous simulations of interactions between light and matter involving surface waves. At São Carlos Institute of Physics, Professor Weiner has helped establish an experimental and computational research program in nanoscience and optical technology. Professor John Weiner was a visiting researcher in our institution between 2010 and 2013. Professor Weiner completes his bachelor's degree of science at Pennsylvania State University in August 1964 with high distinction. And in June 1970, he finished his PhD at the University of Chicago. Among the many professional experiences developed by our honoree over the years, we will highlight some of them that deserve an special attention and prominence. Between 1978 and 1983, he was associate professor at the University of Maryland. Between 1983 and 1997, he was a full professor at the same university, Maryland. Between 1987 and 1988, Professor Weiner was directeur de recherche associé, CNRS, French National Center for Scientific Research, Laboratoire Aimé, Auton, Orsay, France. In 2007, he was appointed Professor Emeritus Professor at Université Paul Sabatier in Toulouse, France. In 2008, he was appointed Visiting Research Fellow of the CNPq, the Brazilian Research Agency. In 2009, appointed Visiting Professor at the University of Maryland and Center for Nanoscale Science and Technology, CNST, Visiting Fellow, NIST, Gettysburg, MD. His research areas, just to remember, are chemical physics, atomic, molecular, and optical physics, laser-assisted inelastic collisions, atom cooling and trapping, studies of ultra-cooled collision dynamics, manipulation of atoms and molecules by light forces issuing from nanostructures, plasmonics, surface waves, light transmission through subwavelength apertures. There were many organizations and institutions where Professor Weiner worked. To give just a few examples, we highlight Fellow of American Physical Society, Washington Academy of Science, Fellow Institute of Physics, London, United Kingdom, membre Optical Society of America, American Chemical Society, American Association for the Advancement of Science, Société Française de Physique, Société Française d'Optique, et Société Européenne de Physique. There were many distinctions awarded to our honoree. We would certainly spend many minutes here listing them all. However, some of these awards and distinctions deserve special attention, such as 1984 Washington Academy of Science Scientific Achievement Award, 1991 Distinguished Research Fellow at the University of Maryland, US, 1992 Outstanding Performance Award, NESF, United States National Science Foundation, 1993 Special Service Award, the same NESF, United States National Science Foundation, 2007 Emeritus Professor, Université Paul Sabatier, France. And that's all. After this introduction, which summarized the academic life of Professor John Weiner, I invite Professor Euclides Marega Jr. for the first speech.
I think John came to São Carlos more than 50 times, maybe 60 or more. Yeah. The first time he came to São Carlos from US, he forgot to apply for the US visa. Yeah, you remember, John? Yeah.
Nobody told me.
So, what happened? John stuck at the immigration, and they put him in an airplane to direct to the Uruguay, yeah? That's true. What? This is 1992 or 3? You don't remember?
It's a long time.
2. Yeah, 1992, so more than 30 years. So, and he stood there for maybe 4 days. He go to Brazilian embassy, took the visa, and after that he arrived in São Carlos. So, after that, John, do not forget anymore to get the visa to enter in Brazil. Well, so there are many stories that we can go all the night here, tell about John, not only stories about life, but all the scientific collaboration that we have so far during these 30 years. But we are very glad to honor John with this diploma and medal. And I will give to my colleagues also to tell something more about John. It's just a story about... but I think now US citizens do not need visa to enter in Brazil, but we need visa to enter in US.
Now I invite Professor Ben-Hur Viana for his speech. Please, Professor.
Actually, after I don't know how many years, at least 6 years since I saw John last time. So it is it's amazing that we could do something that important for him here, because I think it's well deserved. Well, I do not think I have that great story that you just told us, but I do have one, because I had the privilege to host John for 3 months. And one thing that he has many talents. We all know that. I'm privileged to have him as a friend, a colleague, and as a co-author, and I honor him. And well, John, one thing that I can tell you that of all your talents, you don't know how to roast peanuts. And that's something that I still remember from the time that we spent together, but that's just a small thing. But other than that, I just want to congratulate you, John, because it's fantastic that you're here. And I'm really glad that you have achieved this. Congratulations. Thank you.
It's time to invite Professor Luis Gustavo Morcasa for his speech, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very glad to be here. This is a ceremony ritual for John. And I know John since I was 20 years old, and that was some time ago, you know. And there is one funny story of John. John started at Pennsylvania State University, PSU. Then he moved to University of Sabatier. UPS. And finally he ended up at USP, you know, so he can change all the letters over the years. But there's two things about John's accomplishment that I want to say. One, which is his scientific achievement, is a paper from 87, it's a physical review letters, where he proposes to use light to bound atoms and form molecules. So this field has grown quite a lot since that seminal work in 87. In fact, recently it was observed the formation of molecular Bose-Einstein condensation that, if you look back, it's based on these ideas from this paper in 87. So it's a pleasure to be seated next to John for that. And the other thing that people might not remember, well, he was a big boss at the National Science Foundation. You know, he was the guy that has the key of the safe with all the money inside. And by that time, in the middle 90s, he was involved with the creation of the National Science Foundation Centers in the US. But John, I'm very happy, very glad that I have worked with you. And I'm very happy to be your friend as well. Thank you.
I know John from long, and I'm the one that met John first. Well, that was long ago, before 86. And we've been somehow friends since then. I was a student still in the United States. And when John decided to go in cold atoms, he came to São Carlos. We helped to build the first slower. At that time, the slower was the big thing to do. Everything was slowing beams. And since then, we've been having ideas together. I got involved in all the collisions because of John and Paul Julian. And I took my students at that time. Marcassa was my student. Reginaldo Napolitano was my student. Euclides was a student here in São Carlos, and we all moved into cold collisions. Before we even think about condensation, we were measuring characteristics of interaction of atoms, and we published I don't know how many papers together. We proposed and we demonstrated the optical shielding that today people in Hilbert atoms, I think, are considering as a way of keeping atoms apart. And so many other things we have done. And John always came to São Carlos. We always visited his lab. We even visited the lab in France for a while. John very cooperative. And we kept going in collisions through Marcassa. Marcassa still was going to collision, and today he's in Hilbert atoms and it's still considered collision. We moved to other things, including John. He moves to plasmonic. He came, he helped to set labs here for Euclides, collaborating with the engineering school. And so, John was always a kind of second advisor for me. We always discuss things together, write many things together, fail in a few experiments. This is part of the life. But one thing is interesting is when John came and he didn't have the visa, he went to Uruguay, and then he asked me, what I do in Uruguay? I said, go eat meat. And that's what he did. He expended 2 days in good churrascarias in Uruguay. The beef there is really great. And then I went to São Paulo to pick him up. And he was okay. He was not so sorry about going to Uruguay. So John, thank you very much. You know, I know that now you have a lot of other concerns in life. But I remember when we started to discuss collision, nobody cares about collision. People thought that they would reach condensation by miracle. Nobody knew that we needed to understand how aqueous is going to thermalize. And all the measurements, all the influence that John had in Paul Julian too was an important issue for this. And I know we published a review of modern physics. I don't remember the date. It was on the beginning of 2000 or even before. No, it was before, I think. Yeah, well, you see, we are getting good together. And this is being really a good reference for collision stuff today. So, together with John, we were able to do some contribution in the field of colliders, I think, and start many things here. Thank you very much, John. This recognition is basically symbolic for what you mean to us, okay? You mean much more. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. So, as everyone is telling a history about his relationship with John, I guess I would say something that I'm pretty sure he doesn't know, and that's something that I have to thank him. So my very first time I went to the US to a conference, it was a Clio back in the 90s something, and at that time I didn't have money actually to get the ticket, the flight ticket to go to the US, and then I actually got money from my pocket to go. But anyways, of course I didn't have money then to pay for the hotel, right? And then I stayed in this place. He wasn't there, he was in Paris, I believe. So I was there with Marcassa and Andre, right? So the conference was in Baltimore. So we were driving every day. So Marcassa was driving, so we stayed at his place. And so John, thank you very much. So that was very helpful, I can tell you, because otherwise I wouldn't go to Rio that year. And also, I don't know if you know about that, but we also had a barbecue in your place. So myself, Marcassa, I guess Subrata, and Bill, right? So there's something that, I guess there's some things in life that sometimes you don't realize, but then because like that was a very impactful. That was my first time, I guess, overseas. So it was something that I always remember, like staying in your place just because of Marcassa. So, and I never thank you before, so thank you for that. Okay, so being a little more formal now. So it's a great honor to be here today to celebrate Professor John Weiner, as the São Carlos Institute of Physics confers him the title of honorary professor. So as we heard already, Professor Weiner is a prominent figure in the field of physics, known for his contributions in optics, photonics, and atomic interactions. He has been instrumental in the development and advancement of optics and photonics in our institute, being involved, for instance, in the proposal of the Center for Optics and Photonics back in 1997. So also Professor Weiner has impacted the career of several Brazilian researchers who have been mentored or collaborated with him along all those years of his contribution with São Carlos, some of which are faculty in our institute today. So besides the scientific achievements, John is a very humble and nice person, always willing to contribute and help. Therefore, today we recognize not only the scientist, but also the human. So let us take this moment to express our deepest gratitude and admiration to Professor Weiner. So please join me to congratulating Professor John Weiner. Thank you, John.
this is the first time I learned that Barcaza had organized this party of sex, drugs, and rock and roll in College Park, Maryland, with the Brazilian business contingent. But I'm very pleased that the neighbors apparently didn't complain too much, so I guess it was okay. Okay. Well, anyway, I just wanted to express my great appreciation to everybody, to Ben Hurt, to Ben Delay, to Euclides, to Ben, to Kleber, to Marcasa, who started out as a little baby. When he was 20 years old, he seemed like just a very, especially in perspective of years, he seems like a very young kid. But it's life is long, and now here we've come all the way to this point, and so I just wonder, I don't want to run on the mouth, which is a problem when you get older. So I just want to say that I'm really pleased to accept this fine honor. I'm very honored to accept it, and thank you very much all for all the great times that we've had all together. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance at this ceremony, and on behalf of Professor Kleber Mendoza, who represents the director of the São Carlos Institute of Physics, we close this ceremony. Thank you very much, and have a good night, everyone. Thank you.